Okay. So LeBron's number one.
Number one.
But his game doesn't match a prototypical score. It's also not sexy.
It's not sexy. It's animal.
No, it's not sexy at all.
LeBron's game is built on force.
And James with a deflection and the steal. LeBron head of steam. LeBron on his way. Spins one in. Put a little English off the glass.
Sheer will, dedication, his mind, his IQ, the way he's able to dissect and control a game, power above anything else. He wills himself to the basket. Now, as he's gotten older, you got to give the guy credit. He's become a better and better and better jump shooter. It's crazy. He's going to retire probably being the best jump shooter he's ever been. Right. You know what I'm saying? Like that. What you got to give credit to his work ethic. You don't do that by not getting in the lab. But his game has never been a sexy score. When you think of that, you think of the fadeaway. You think of the post up. You think of, mid range for one. Being able to get to a spot on the floor and hit a game winner. Bag work. That's what people prototypically put. That's why like James Harden, you think of him going to ISO, twin his legs 2 or 3 times. So it's a complicated thing to talk about because are we talking about results or are we talking about the aesthetic? Yeah. Because if we're talking results, LeBron scored more than anybody, guys. All right? If you're talking about the aesthetic, then you're going to go off someone that looks like they're a more polished scorer, who's more skilled on the offensive scoring side. For instance, LeBron has scored more points than Kevin. Kevin can score in a much more variety of ways than LeBron. Yeah. You can argue with the wall, but that's just the truth. LeBron doesn't have half the offensive bag that Kevin has. But LeBron has been so dominant at the things he does do offensively, he hasn't needed it. He's been a freight train his whole entire career. You know what I mean? Karl Malone wasn't doing in and out crossover step backs, but he's up there too. He's like 3rd or 3rd or 4th on the scoring list. Right. So if it shows if you're really great at one thing, Kareem had a hook shot, a shot you couldn't block.
And here are the Lakers, 5-on-2.
Then you can score a lot of points. Does that make you the best scorer of all time? I don't agree with that, no. Yeah.
It's Jones, blocked by DeMarre Carroll. 2 seconds to go for Austin Rivers. It'll count. Got it! Butter!
Shall we get started?
Austin Rivers just said what nobody else had the guts to say. The all-time leading scorer in NBA history isn't actually one of the greatest scorers of all time. And the internet absolutely lost its mind. This wasn't some random player throwing shade for attention. This was Doc Rivers' son, a guy who's been around NBA greatness his entire life, calmly explaining why being number 1 on the scoring list doesn't automatically make you one of the best scorers ever. And LeBron fans, they came for blood. The comments section turned into a war zone. Death threats, personal attacks, people bringing up his family connections like that somehow invalidated his basketball knowledge. But here's the thing. Austin Rivers might have just exposed the biggest lie in modern basketball. Hit that subscribe button because we're about to break down why this controversy reveals everything wrong with how we measure greatness in today's NBA. And trust me, what comes next is going to make LeBron fans even angrier. The 3-level problem. Let's start with what Austin Rivers actually said, because most people only heard the headline. He wasn't saying LeBron can't score. Obviously, the man has 40,000 points. He was saying LeBron doesn't fit the profile of what we traditionally consider a great scorer. Rivers laid out specific criteria: efficiency, difficulty to guard, spots on the floor you can score from, and most importantly, can you score from all 3 levels? And that last one is where LeBron's case falls apart. A 3-level scorer can hurt you from beyond the arc, from mid-range, and at the rim. Think Kevin Durant pulling up from anywhere on the court. Think Kobe with that fadeaway jumper. Think Michael Jordan stopping on a dime for that killer mid-range shot. These guys were nightmares because you literally couldn't give them any space anywhere on the floor. LeBron, for most of his career, he's been a 1.5 level scorer at best. Elite at the rim, decent from 3 in his later years, but absolutely terrible from mid-range. And Rivers called him out for it. Outside the paint, LeBron shoots 37% from the floor. That's not elite scorer territory. That's role player numbers. But here's where Rivers really got cooking. He pointed out that LeBron didn't start working on his jump shot until year 18 or 19 of his career. You know when he should have developed that shot? 2007, when the San Antonio Spurs literally dared him to shoot and swept his team out of the finals. They left him wide open from everywhere except the paint, and he couldn't make them pay. The craziest part? LeBron fans actually tried to defend this. They acted like developing a reliable jump shot in the twilight of your career deserves extra credit. But Rivers wasn't buying it, and neither should you. Because what Austin Rivers really exposed is something much deeper about how LeBron built his entire career. And it's about to get uncomfortable. The force versus finesse debate. Austin Rivers made another point that cut deep. LeBron's game has never been sexy. And he's absolutely right. LeBron's scoring has always been about pure physical domination rather than skill and finesse. When you think of legendary scorers, you think of artistry. Kobe's footwork in the post, Jordan's hang time and body control, Durant's smooth shooting stroke, Dirk's fadeaway. These guys made scoring look like poetry in motion. They had signature moves that became iconic. They had go-to shots that defenders knew were coming but still couldn't stop. What's LeBron's signature scoring move? Running really fast in a straight line to the basket.
Well, DeJounte goes down the middle, elevates before LeBron can come over. You know, there's some games where LeBron just, he will defer early in the game. Not tonight. He is taking.
That's not artistry. That's athleticism. And there's nothing wrong with using your physical gifts, but let's not pretend it's the same thing as being a skilled scorer. Rivers hit the nail on the head when he talked about the difference between results and aesthetics. Sure, LeBron has scored more points than anyone in NBA history, but how he got those points matters when we're talking about greatness as a scorer. Think about it this way. If you stripped away LeBron's size and athleticism, how effective would his scoring be? Now try that same thought experiment with Kobe, Jordan, or Durant. Their games would translate to any body type because they were built on skill, not just physical gifts. And this connects to something even more damaging to LeBron's legacy, because what Rivers really exposed is that LeBron has always taken the path of least resistance. Instead of developing the difficult skills that separate good scorers from great ones, LeBron relied on being bigger, faster, and stronger than everyone else. When that stopped working as effectively in his 30s, only then did he start working on his jump shot. But by then, it was too late to change how people viewed him as a scorer. And that's exactly why players who've been around the game their whole lives, like Austin Rivers, don't put him in that elite scorer category. The fear factor. Here's where Austin Rivers really went for the throat, and it's probably the most devastating part of his entire critique. He asked a simple question: who's actually afraid of guarding LeBron James? Think about the legendary scorers in NBA history. Defenders would lose sleep knowing they had to guard Kobe the next night. They'd mentally prepare for hours, knowing they were about to get tortured for 48 minutes. Same with Jordan, same with Durant when he's locked in. But LeBron? Rivers pointed out that the only thing players fear about LeBron isn't his scoring, it's his power to destroy their careers. Getting traded, getting benched, getting sent to a terrible situation. That's not basketball fear, that's political fear. And when you really think about it, Rivers is right. When was the last time you heard a defender talk about how hard LeBron was to guard from a pure scoring perspective? When was the last time someone said they couldn't sleep because they were worried about LeBron dropping 50 on them? You don't hear those stories because they don't exist.
They've never existed, will never exist.
LeBron's reputation as a scorer is built more on volume and longevity than on being genuinely impossible to stop. He's never been the guy who could get any shot he wanted against any defender at any time. This isn't about basketball anymore. This is about power dynamics and fear of retaliation. And when your reputation as a great scorer is propped up by people being afraid to criticize you rather than afraid to guard you, that's a problem. But the fear factor goes even deeper than individual matchups. It's about how LeBron has used his influence to shape narratives throughout his career. The teammate truth. Austin Rivers didn't just attack LeBron's scoring ability, he went after his character as a teammate. And this might be the most damaging part of his entire critique, because it exposes patterns that have been obvious for years, but nobody wanted to say out loud. Rivers painted a picture of LeBron as the teammate who throws you under the bus when things go wrong. He talked about how LeBron's media empire at Clutch Sports would have analysts trashing his own teammates on TV, while LeBron stayed silent. Imagine being Kyrie Irving, averaging 27 points per game and hitting the championship-clinching shot in the 2016 finals, only to have LeBron's people calling you street clothes on national television. Imagine being Anthony Davis, playing through injuries in the playoffs, while people in LeBron's circle question your toughness. Rivers asked the perfect question: where's the loyalty? Where's the brotherhood? If you're going to call someone your teammate, your brother, shouldn't you have their back when the media comes for them? But it gets worse. Rivers brought up how LeBron didn't even show up to Dwyane Wade's jersey retirement ceremony. This is a guy who called Wade his brother, who spent 4 years with him in Miami, who won 2 championships together. And LeBron couldn't be bothered to show up for the most important moment of Wade's post-career life.
Brother, I love you. I wish I could be there, man. You know I would love to be there supporting you, but...
You wish.
This isn't just about being a bad teammate. This is about being a bad friend. And it reveals something fundamental about LeBron's character that goes way beyond basketball. Rivers suggested that young fans need to understand this about their hero. That all the points and all the accolades don't matter if you're willing to sacrifice relationships for personal gain. That respect can't be bought with statistics. And this connects to the broader point about LeBron's legacy. Because more and more people are starting to see through the carefully constructed image. The artificial legacy. Here's what Austin Rivers really exposed with his comments. LeBron's entire legacy is built on artificial inflation. The stats look impressive until you examine how they were accumulated. The narrative sounds great until you hear it from someone who isn't on the Clutch Sports payroll. Rivers talked about how LeBron and Kevin Durant have pumped their heads up with inflated statistics, but deep down, they know people don't respect how they did it, and that's the key phrase, how they did it. LeBron didn't just accumulate the most points in NBA history. He did it by playing longer than anyone else, often in situations where he was stat padding instead of trying to win games. He did it by switching teams whenever things got difficult, ensuring he always had elite teammates to keep his efficiency numbers respectable. Most importantly, he did it while using his media empire to control the narrative around his performances. Bad games got explained away. Teammates got blamed for failures. Credit got hoarded for successes. Rivers pointed out that both LeBron and Durant will get their Hall of Fame ceremonies and their farewell tours, but deep down inside, they know that people don't respect how they did it. The applause will be there, but it'll be hollow. The congratulations will come, but they'll feel fake. This is what happens when you prioritize individual achievement over authentic greatness, when you care more about your legacy than your actual impact, when you're more worried about how history will remember you than how your teammates and opponents remember you. And Rivers suggested that both players will have regrets when it's all over. Not about their success, but about the shortcuts they took to get there, the relationships they sacrificed, the respect they never truly earned. Because at the end of the day, you can't buy respect with statistics. You can't manufacture fear with media campaigns. You can't create a legacy through careful brand management. The Internet Meltdown. The reaction to Austin Rivers' comments proved everything he was trying to say. Instead of defending LeBron's scoring ability with facts and logic, fans immediately went personal. They attacked Rivers' family connections, his own playing career, his right to have an opinion. This is exactly what happens when you can't defend someone on merit. You attack the messenger instead of addressing the message. And the attacks were vicious. People brought up Doc Rivers as if being a coach's son somehow disqualifies you from understanding basketball. They questioned his career accomplishments as if you need to be better than someone to critique them accurately. But here's what the fanboys missed. Austin Rivers has been around elite basketball his entire life. He's played with and against some of the greatest scorers in NBA history. He knows what real scoring ability looks like because he's seen it up close. When someone with that background says LeBron doesn't belong in the conversation with the truly elite scorers, maybe it's worth listening instead of immediately going into attack mode. The most telling part of the backlash was how desperate it sounded. Fans were reaching back to 2016, bringing up ancient highlights, trying to use one championship run to justify an entire career narrative. That's not the behavior of confident supporters. That's the behavior of people who know their arguments are weak. Rivers even talked about how he converts young LeBron fans all the time just by walking them through the facts. Not opinion, not hot takes, just basic basketball analysis. And apparently, it works, because the foundation of LeBron's scoring reputation is built on sand. The Internet Meltdown over Rivers' comments wasn't really about defending LeBron. It was about defending their own investment in the LeBron mythology. Because if Rivers is right, then a lot of people have been wrong for a very long time. Austin Rivers didn't go viral for saying something outrageous. He went viral for saying something obvious that most people were afraid to admit. LeBron James, for all his accomplishments, has never been one of the truly elite scorers in NBA history. The all-time scoring record is impressive, but it's a volume stat earned through longevity and situational advantages, not pure scoring excellence. The three-level limitation is real. The lack of signature moves is evident. The absence of genuine fear from defenders is telling. Most importantly, Rivers exposed the difference between accumulating points and being a great scorer, between having impressive numbers and earning authentic respect, between building a brand and building a legacy. The reaction to his comments proved his point better than any argument could have. When criticism of your favorite player immediately triggers personal attacks and desperate deflection, maybe it's time to examine whether that player is really as untouchable as you thought. Austin Rivers had the courage to say what many people in basketball circles already knew, and judging by the reaction, he struck a nerve that needed striking. If this breakdown changed how you think about scoring in the NBA, make sure to subscribe for more honest takes that cut through the noise, because sometimes the most important truths come from the most unexpected sources.